What's up, YouTube fam? This is your girl, Mrs. Tony Two Times, and we back with another video. Let's hear from tonight's sponsor, and then we'll jump right into it. This video is brought to you by Cool Green Clothing. Cool Green Clothing is a Baltimore-based clothing line that started back in 2018 and has been growing strong ever since. Make sure you follow Cool Green Clothing on Facebook and IG at Cool Green Clothing, and check out their website, coolgreenclothing.com, where you can find the latest cool green fashions and hats, women's apparel, and the latest men's collection. Remember, if you ain't coolin' and getting the green, you're in the way.
Ralph Lauren named his brand himself. That's what I did myself. My name AC Green. So I turned AC to cool. You got cool green. And if you ain't cool and getting the green, you're in the way. That's just basic. You know what I mean?
Gang.
So, yeah.
Hey, the cool green is the shit. The cool green is, if you don't get no other authentic t-shirt, come down here to my man and represent for the brother Cool Green Clothing. That's COOLGREEN clothing line.
That's right, spell it out for him.
The best clothing line you could ever get, bro. The best clothing line. The good cool green.
Man, how you hear about us?
Good through the good video of my man Tony Two Times. All the way from Annapolis to support Cool Green.
My man come down all the way from Annapolis, man. That's love.
Welcome back, fam. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I invite you to join the Two Times fam. Tap that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to get notified of all uploads. Be sure to like this video if you're rocking with the content. Comment down below and share your thoughts. Of course, always keeping it respectful. Share this video with everyone you know. Make sure you watch the video until the end to hear the full story. This is a tragic story of a woman who had been literally fighting for her life since she was a baby. Details in this story can be disturbing to some, so this is your trigger warning. As you can see, this is going to be lengthy, so let's get right into it. Dominique Foster was born in 1975. She was a wife and mother of 6 from Baltimore, Maryland. She relocated to North Carolina for some time, and she married her husband of 19 years. Dominique's upbringing was troubling from the very beginning. On December 27, 1975, at just 7 months old, the unthinkable happened. Her father had been drinking and was in a drunken rage while arguing with her mother. After arguing with his then wife at his mother's house in East Baltimore, he told them both that he was going to do something to this baby that they would both regret. Suddenly, Dominique's mother heard the sound of breaking glass and a crash. Her and her mother-in-law ran back down the hallway where they found 7-month-old Dominique lying on the floor and glass shattered everywhere. Vivian rushed her baby Dominique to nearby Johns Hopkins Hospital. She survived, but she had to have 22 stitches in her tiny head. 5 months earlier, in July 1975, when Dominique was just an infant, Baltimore police officers saw her father hold an 8-inch steak knife to his ex-wife's throat and dragged her into a Baltimore row house. He was arrested that day, but Dominique's mother later requested for the charges to be dropped. After what had happened to Dominique, her father was charged with assault with intent to disfigure. Charging documents say that Vivian was afraid of her husband, Lawrence, and that he would kill her children and herself. It was while he was out on bail awaiting trial in April 1976 that police found the body of his ex-wife in a closet of an East Baltimore apartment she had been renting. Vivian's body was so badly decomposed, the medical examiner was unable to determine a cause of death. Court documents in several criminal proceedings against Dominique's father show that the detectives believed he killed her mother, but he was never charged. In October 1976, Dominique's father was convicted of the assault on her when she was a baby. He was sentenced to 15 years. Her father was released from prison in December 1988. He then returned to Baltimore and went on to have 2 more children by 2 different women. By that time, Dominique and her brother Lawrence Jr. were in their teens. During that time, it's my belief that Dominique and her brother reconnected with their father. Then, in 1991, things took a turn for the worse once again. On November 19th, 1991, Dominique's father Lawrence had gone out drinking with 2 of his friends. The trio spent hours drinking and driving together. In the early morning hours, the friends found themselves on a roadside in Pasadena in Anne Arundel County, Maryland. That's when Lawrence pulled out a gun and shot one of his friends to death. Lawrence and his other friend drove off, leaving their friend's lifeless body on the side of the road. Later on in court, his friend who had not been shot said he was also afraid for his life. Police never identified a motive as to why Lawrence took his friend's life. But that's not where the day ended. Hours later, about 20 miles north in Baltimore, Lawrence arrived at the Foster home his 17-year-old son, Lawrence Jr., was living on Northern Parkway. He then allegedly shot his son in the head as he was cowered in the corner of the kitchen. Once again, Dominique had lost someone close to her at the hands of her own father, allegedly. First her mother, now her brother. According to police, Lawrence ended his son's life because he and Dominique had reported being severely beaten by him on more than one occasion. According to reports, Dominique said her father had assaulted her in the most inappropriate and vile way while he was intoxicated. Their father had found out about their allegations at a custody hearing just 7 days before he had shot his son. Dominique also told the police that she feared her father had meant to kill her also, police reports said. She said he had come looking for her at school and had threatened her occasionally with meeting the same fate as her mother, according to police reports. For the death of her brother, her father entered an Alford plea. He pleaded no contest, which means he did not admit guilt, but there was enough evidence for a conviction. Months later, her father pleaded guilty to executing his friend. Each deal resulted in a 20-year prison term, which was to be served concurrently. Dominique's father was released from prison under mandatory supervision in October 2002. He was released early because he had collected enough good time credits in prison. Lawrence had left Baltimore, changed his name to Malik. Now, for the sake of this video, I will continue to reference him as Lawrence. He remarried and moved to Laurel, Maryland in Prince George's County. However, a familiar pattern of Dominique's father soon took place. His new wife had secured 3 protective orders against her new husband in 2003 and 2004. The violence escalated between Lawrence and his second wife. She filed assault charges against him. According to court documents, she alleged that he threatened to kill her, tried to suffocate her with a pillow, and choked her with a vacuum cleaner hose. She quoted him saying to her, "I must kill you." Then he put a knife to her throat and said he would dump her body in the Productionz River, she said in court records. He spent 9 months in jail while awaiting trial and was later found not guilty by a jury. By the end of 2006, Dominique's father and his second wife had separated. He had went on to move into a rooming house in Laurel with a woman, her 22-year-old daughter, and a 9-month-old granddaughter. The daughter of the woman had trouble with Lawrence, who was her mother's boyfriend, and she requested a protective order on December 1st, 2006. She had written that he had slapped her during an argument about babysitting her baby girl. After numerous attempts by sheriff deputies to serve Lawrence with the protective order, they tried one last time on December 12, 2006 at the rooming house. Hours later, police found the young mother and her baby shot to death. The following day, he was arrested for the alleged parole violations. The police never found enough evidence to charge him with the murders. However, the Maryland Parole Commission returned him to prison to serve the remainder of his 20-year sentence for the 1991 killings, calling him a threat to others. He was again released in 2014. While her father's track record for violence seemed to continue, Dominique seemingly did her best to stay away from him. She also kept her family away from Lawrence as well. Dominique did her best to cope with the traumatic past between her and her father while being a wife and raising her children. Fast forward to 2019, 43-year-old Dominique was living in Baltimore. While in Baltimore, Dominique was in and out of treatment centers in an effort to get clean. At some point, she had reconnected with her father and frequently visited with him at his apartment in West Baltimore. However, something had went terribly wrong. On Mother's Day, May 12, 2019, someone called 911 to report a suspicious package at a dumpster near an apartment complex in Northwest Baltimore. Once police arrived at the scene, they saw a shopping cart with a black trash bag in it with what looked like blood dripping on the outside of the tied-up bag. Baltimore police asked for the public's help in identifying the body, who was found dead near a dumpster. The department shared on social media that the Black or Hispanic woman was found wrapped up and placed inside a shopping cart near the Clark Lake Garden apartment dumpsters in the Glen neighborhood. The photos in the social media post showed the large black trash bag inside the shopping cart. Police also distributed photos of the woman's tattoos to local media in hopes of someone identifying her. That's when Dominique's adult daughter called detectives on the case to positively identify her mother's tattoos. Her family was in disbelief. They described Dominique as absolutely beautiful inside and out. They said that everyone that knew her adored her. Her daughter described her as a loving, caring, and happy person. It wasn't until after the family confirmed her identity that information was released about the dismemberment of Dominique's body. Her hands, feet, lower legs, and head were all missing. This led police to Dominique's father, Lawrence. At first, he was not charged in connection with the death of his daughter. Police, however, obtained a search warrant for Lawrence's apartment where they found evidence of blood, computers, cell phones, counterfeit money, a yellow raincoat, a pair of boots, and a .380 Beretta with 5 bullets in the magazine, according to an affidavit obtained by the Baltimore Sun. He was then charged only with illegally possessing a firearm and ammunition and was sent to city jail as police continued to investigate Dominique's death. His bond was denied. On May 10th, a nearby resident told responding officers that they heard arguing that night, but they didn't see anything out of the ordinary. A security camera video from that day obtained by police show a man with a limp in a white jacket and a hoodie wheeling a shopping cart toward where Dominique's remains were found. As the investigation continued in July 2019, police were able to gather enough evidence for murder charges to be brought against Dominique's father in connection to her death. Dominique's husband and children were relieved to hear that he was charged with her death. Her husband said that Lawrence was a monster who long traumatized his wife and abused her in her adolescence. He said that Dominique would say if she left this world, it would be by her father. It seemed she had met her grim fate. Dominique's murder trial began this year in September. Possible motives about the heinous crime came to light. Dominique's daughter's testimony shed light on the unhinged anger her grandfather held towards her mother for her drug use. She said he was unstable when he would call her ranting about her mother, and he even said that she's lucky he didn't have an effing pistol, according to her testimony. He sent her disturbing text messages, including a video of her mother shooting up. Her testimony provided the first possible motive as to why he may have killed his daughter. Dominique's daughter also testified that her mother left one treatment center because Lawrence was harassing her. He said that Dominique disgusted him and she didn't deserve to be his daughter, according to reports. Lawrence's ex-fiancée also testified that she did not see him for 11 hours on the day Dominique was killed, and that was unusual. She went on to say when he did return to spend the night with her, he had scratches on his arms and neck. He allegedly told her that the injuries were burns from antifreeze when his van overheated, and then asked her for some shea or cocoa butter to treat his wounds, according to the testimony. Prosecutors also had cell phone evidence that placed Lawrence on the path and near the dumpster at the same time as the surveillance video they had obtained. Dominique was last seen alive climbing into his white van. Forensic technicians testified that they sprayed Lawrence's apartment with the chemical luminol to test for blood, which glowed beneath a doormat in the apartment and scattered places in the hallway. They swabbed the areas and submitted it for testing. A forensic pathologist with BPD testified that some swabs indicated the possible presence of blood. Other swabs came back negative. Forensics then testified that the swabs were tested for DNA, but the DNA test did not implicate Dominique's father, but her own DNA, which could be explained by her past visits to his home. During the trial, Lawrence's defense attorneys presented a theory that Dominique fell victim to the violent drug trade in the streets of Baltimore, possibly to a notoriously brutal Latino street gang, because a neighbor reported seeing Latino men near where the body was found, and the defense questioned police if graffiti on the dumpster might be a gang sign. They also attempted to note discrepancies in the cell phone data provided by the FBI agent who examined Lawrence's phone. He reportedly went fishing after his daughter's disappearance, but police divers searched the waters off the fishing pier and found no evidence. Additionally, his DNA was not detected on swabs of the shopping cart or the cord that was tied around Dominique's body. The trial lasted an agonizing 2 weeks. Then, on October 4th, 2021, after the jury's deliberation, they found the 68-year-old former Marine from Northwest Baltimore guilty of second-degree murder and the unauthorized disposal of a body. The jurors, however, acquitted him of first degree, meaning they did not find that he killed his daughter with premeditation. Lawrence showed no emotion to the verdict. He faces up to 40 years in prison and is scheduled to be sentenced on December 6, 2021. Lawrence's defense attorneys say they plan to appeal. The judge also faulted prosecutors for withholding some dead-end evidence that later came to light during the trial. A lot of the evidence in the trial was circumstantial. Despite his violent past, in compliance with Maryland law, jurors did not hear any of it during Dominique's trial. The evidence presented only focused on the current proceedings. Dominique's 6 children issued a statement saying the verdict means their mother may now truly rest in peace. Even though terrible things were said to try and diminish our mother's character, she will forever be our hero, knowing that she stuck to her word and stayed clean, they wrote. Thank you, Lord, and thank you to everyone who was involved in solving the case and being able to see the true side of this monster. Her husband in North Carolina, Willie Foster, issued a statement calling the verdict a victory. I am proud to know that justice has been served, and I know Dominique would feel the same way, he wrote. The world lost a beautiful person. I love her and will always love her. Man, fam, this was such a sad story. In just my opinion from researching for this story, this man is pure evil, a sociopath, and a master manipulator. Others who were unaware of his crimes and alleged crimes couldn't believe he was responsible for any of them. They described him as a gentleman, someone who was charismatic. The way he presented himself to some people was not how he was to others, it seemed like, especially towards his family and those who got close to him. His public defender even told a judge at one point that he had a master's degree from Towson University, which Towson reps refute, saying that they have no records of him. He also said that he attended church and was a volunteer at a city anti-violence group, which all came back as false according to church officials and the anti-violence group's representative. So yeah, definitely seems like he knew how to talk his way out of things. Dominique was just 43 years old. She seemed to be on the right path before her death. It seemed like healing was truly in the process. My deepest and sincerest condolences to Dominique's family. I hope they got some closure and they can continue to live life in peace. Alright fam, that's it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. A special shout out to all who made it to the end. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. This is your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 Times, and I'm out.